Welcome to Dave Talks Some More, the podcast at the intersection of humor and, Hey, I'm your host, Dave, and together we'll explore a riveting world of mundane topics with unparalleled indifference. So get ready for a riveting journey through,
whatever.
This is Dave Talks Some More. All right, Far Out, thank you for joining us again. We missed last week, which I'm bitter about, but we're gonna keep going. Put aside the bitterness. Got young Sean Guy here. How you doing, Sean?
I'm good, Dave. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too. We've got an empty chair over here.
No dabs.
Poor Dabs. I don't know if she's ever gonna come out of seclusion again. Maybe we ran her off. I don't know.
Maybe.
You told me that we've got a new sponsor. I don't even know what you were telling me about this, but I feel like that ought to be the lead in.
Yes, well, absolutely. We have a host sponsor today, Cowboy Country Club, which of course you can see there on our
the
video.
Screen. Yeah.
Yes, Tanner McCraney, the son of one of my partners, Tad, started Cowboy Country Club a couple of years ago. And I brought some free merch to me this week, which I told him I would sport on our show this week. And so
you're very sporty.
Yes,
you're looking sporty.
Tanner asked me. He said, do you think do you like a rope on your? He's like, that's kind of like new school. And I was like, roped on hats, that's actually kind of old school.
Oh, that makes you look like somebody's dad who just got a boat.
Yes.
And you're walking around in your little deck shoes.
Well, so anyway, we have a special. If you're listening today, go to cowboycountryclub.com. Check out their merch. They have golf shirts, golf hats. They have golf club covers. They've got belts, pickleball paddles.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a lot of great stuff. That's cowboycountryclub.com. And the special is if you enter DTSM for Dave Talks Some More, DTSM 15, you can get 15% off of your order. So go check it out.
It's a hell of a deal.
And enter DTSM and get 15% off.
I'm feeling good about it.
Yes.
All right. It's a start.
Tanner told me the other day that he has an Instagram page too, but he told me the other day that that they've had a couple of because this is a big thing these days for weddings, bachelor parties, where people have ordered white for all the bachelors or blue for all the bachelors, and then what do you call the
groomsmen?
Groomsmen. There you go. Went brain dead for a second. The groomsmen get one color, and then the bachelor gets the black hat or something like that. So, anyway.
Or all the bridesmaids wear white, and then the bride wears a vivid red or something like that.
We won't go there.
My third wedding.
We won't go there. But anyway, go check out Cowboy Country Club.
We'll go there. Have you not been to a wedding where you're with your significant other and you're going, no way. How long are we going to give this? 6 months tops. No way. These two. I know these two. There's no way.
I've been to a few that I thought not a chance in hell. And you know what? I was pretty much spot on every single time.
Right. I told Bonnie, I said, because I'm an idea guy.
Right.
And I said, my idea is, an impact plan. You know how people have kids and they have an impact plan for their college saving, an impact plan, but for divorce lawyers. And as soon as you get married, you start socking some money away.
Yeah.
So that when it's time to get a divorce, you're all loaded.
You're ready
to go.
You're ready.
But I've seen people whose kids are so bad. I thought they need to start an impact plan for their criminal defense attorney for their kid. That kid's not going to college. That kid is going to know what the phrase "tried as an adult" means. And we need to have the state of Mississippi needs to start an impact plan for criminal defense lawyers. If they want to give them a chance.
Fallacy with that plan is that most people, if they knew that their child was such a screw up, and then had, jail time in their future, they would be like, he can pay for his own criminal defense.
Put him away.
I'm not paying for it.
Put him away. I'm
Right.
taking him to the police.
Right.
Going to narc him out. Well, I thought we would start off with your traffic incident with Dabs, but I feel guilty about it because
Dab's not here.
she's not here to defend herself, and I hate to do a service by publication trial where she's not here to tell about what happened. So maybe we'll bookmark that. When I first walked in this room, I was hoping she would be here because I thought, that's going to be the easiest hour in the world just to get you two talking about that.
Yes.
But she's not. So I'll move on to the other thing that I figured probably would take an entire hour to go through, all the different permutations and tributaries of the Shedeur Sanders debacle. For those who,
it's the topic of the day.
oh, it is. For those who don't know, Deion Sanders, and if you don't know Deion Sanders, he's one of the very, very few athletes.
I would be really surprised if any listener of DTSM would actually not know
well, he
who
was
Deion is.
Well, just real quickly, he was one of the few people who successfully played Major League Baseball and pro football at a high level at the same time. And of course, to us locals, he was the guy who was the Jackson State coach for, I guess, a couple of years. And was it 2 years? I'm pretty sure 2 years.
I think 2 years.
And then
he got a SWAC championship out of it. Didn't they?
They went to the game. I thought they lost the championship game. And then parlayed that into head coaching job at University of Colorado, where he still is. And Shedeur, his son, played quarterback for him at JSU and again at Colorado. And unless you've been living under a rock, you've missed the story of how Shedeur was going to he was a lock, 5-star lock for first round pick in the NFL draft, which was this
I don't
weekend.
know that he was a 5-star lock. I really don't. I
Yeah,
was
Mel
not shocked.
Mel Kiper at ESPN
Well, Mel Kiper
was just in love with him.
I mean,
wants
yes.
to take him home and introduce him to his daughter.
I'm not really sure why he went so
Oh,
berserk.
he just
he
had to
lost
have
his
him.
marbles.
Yeah.
He really did. He was on what we would call us gamblers full tilt.
He was on full tilt. He was just, I'm pushing all my chips in, and then when that doesn't work, I'm going to go take a mortgage on the house, and I'm going to put all that money on the table. There's no way. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, the kid goes from whatever he was, 5-star lock or something like it for the first round, drops all the way down to 5th round. That's right, folks. 5th round.
To the lowly,
despicable,
Cleveland
sad
Browns.
Cleveland Browns, who have not won a Super Bowl in the history of Super Bowls.
And you know the irony of that is that the Cleveland Browns took another diva head case,
Right.
and Quinshon Judkins, who basically Ole Miss said, sayonara, we don't want you on our team anymore.
Productive as he was.
Productive as he was, because not only did he come with his attitude and his diva status, but you also got his mother in the deal. And so,
Yeah, which was a special treat.
which was a special treat. She was a major problem. And now you've got not just Shedeur, but you have
you get his
Deion.
father. You get his father.
So you've got Quinshon, you've got Shedeur, you've got Deion, and you've got Miss Judkins, all wreaking havocs on a franchise that has never won anything.
It was hilarious because for so many reasons, one of them being the guy comes across as arrogant as you could ask for somebody who's never really actually done anything. This is why I said I disagree with you on him being a 5-star lock. Do you know what his record was against top 25 teams? Had he won one?
1-7.
Yeah.
1-7.
Well, and if you asked him, and you really didn't have to ask, because the sideline reporter would ask him after every game why they lost, and he was a consistent player when it came to throwing his teammates under the bus, and everything is everybody else's fault. He has yet to make his first mistake. I mean, he just radiates arrogance, and so I think a lot of people took kind of a savage glee at watching him not make the first round cut, which there's no shame in that. And then the second round goes by, and then it's just this hilarious death watch. Like, you remember Will Levis at Kentucky, or that name won't ring a bell. Johnny Manziel, when he's going to be a first round pick. He's so good.
Well, now, how far did he drop? Because I think there's a great comparison between him and Manziel.
Well, and Manziel, who also went to the Cleveland Browns, but Manziel dropped.
Ironically, yes.
Yeah, Manziel dropped to 22, which there's really no shame.
I mean,
in
he
that.
was considered to be the number one pick of the draft.
Yeah, and so when he dropped to 22, it was after every kid got picked, the camera would flip over to Manziel and say, "Still not you, buddy. Now let's see how you feel about the still not you." But I mean, my God, Shedeur, it wouldn't stop all weekend. The still not you shot, and he's just got this smile frozen on his face because what can he do?
He couldn't do anything.
There's one thing that they could do, which is to call the people who call everything racism and say the NFL is racist and there's a cabal that he is too uppity. That's the word I heard. He's too uppity. And
right.
The NFL is racist, and so they decided to blackball him.
Right. Basically, the claim is now I don't see any racism here involved because the number one pick of the draft was Cam Ward, a quarterback. Okay, who's black? You know who the number 2 pick was? Travis Hunter, who also black, played for Deion at Jackson State and at Colorado, and he plays both sides of the football. And if you ever see an interview with Travis Hunter, he's really a good kid, and a lot of people liked him. I saw this great video clip this weekend of Shedeur and Cam Ward goofing off.
Yeah, I saw that.
Where Cam, Shedeur is asking him like, what other hobbies? I rap, and I'm a rap singer or a rapper. And Cam was like, I play football. That's all I do because I want people to know me for football and nothing else. And, of course, the guy is – I mean, everyone loved him. Everyone loved Cam Ward, that is.
Yeah.
So,
well, some people that really had fun with young Shedeur at Ole Miss –
there's a lot of Ole Miss connections to this story. Other than just the pranksters.
Well,
because of the Eli Manning. Have you seen all this?
No.
So before we get to the pranksters, so if you'll recall, Eli actually got drafted 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows he won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants, Hall of Fame career, although he's yet to get in the Hall of Fame. But Eli was going to be the number 1 pick, and the Chargers were going to draft him. And, the Mannings came out, and basically it got leaked somehow that he didn't want to be a Charger. And so essentially the Chargers drafted him, and then they immediately traded him to the Giants. And so the Giants had Eli as, their number 1 guy, and he was picked. But there was a lot of speculation, and before he went up, and I think it was Susie Colbert was like, "What are you going to do, Eli? If they call your name, are you going to go up there?" And he was like, "Well, let's just see how things play out." And of course, the Chargers called his name. He went up there. He held up the Chargers jersey, the number 1. He stood there and for the photo op and everything. But clearly the Chargers knew that he didn't want to be there, and
never played it down.
He never played it down.
Never went to the facility.
And the Chargers got something out of the deal. It wasn't
you'd think.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Giants got a guy that played for him for, I don't know, 18 years or something like that.
It wasn't 18 years.
15 years? It was close. He held the record for most consecutive starts for a while. But in any event, so all the people claiming racism are saying, well, none of you people said anything about how what a terrible attitude the Mannings had by refusing to go play for the Chargers. We're not doing anything different than what the Mannings did. And so you treat the white people different than you're treating us, which I think is a laughable argument, because from everything that I've heard that's been reported this weekend, and it's been reported heavily by many people, Shedeur did nothing like what the Mannings did. I mean, have you heard about all the stuff that he did going into teams and meeting with them, and the way that
he was very clear about, here are the teams I want to play for, here are the teams I don't want to play for, and if he had a team meeting with a team that he didn't want to play for, he wasn't a jerk about it, but he came in not prepared, not really showing an attitude of I'm ready to play anywhere, anytime. It was just left a bad taste in a lot of mouths about, this guy's arrogant, this guy's entitled, he wants what he wants, and if he doesn't get what he wants, then he's a bad attitude all the way around. I mean, that was kind of what the league was saying.
Which, by the way,
behind closed doors,
the quarterback is the leader of your team. If you got a quarterback who openly throws teammates under the bus, says that he's always the best and everyone else is always the problem, how are you going to allow that person to be the face of your franchise? We're talking about, these franchises are billion-dollar entities. You're going to let this guy be the face of your franchise?
Well, these franchises are billion-dollar entities that make money more than anything else through winning. These people would sell their children to win a Super Bowl, and the idea that they're going to turn away from him for anything other than this, that they did a cost-benefit analysis and said whatever athletic ability he has is going to be terribly overshadowed by all the off-the-field junk that we're going to be dealing with, and we don't need it. We're not going to deal with it, and go away with all. And they just did the analysis and said, we don't need it.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, that's.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, when you've got a guy on your team, you want a guy that's going to play within the system. I mean, you want a guy that can hear criticism from his coach if you screw something up. You also have all these other football players who are getting paid millions of dollars too that are on the team. And if you got one person that thinks he's above, all of them, that causes a internal locker room problem.
Well, the situation that I remember, this is going back, is Terrell Owens when he was a wide receiver. And I can't remember how his career ended, but I know when he was kind of at the Cowboys but wouldn't sign, and it was just when he wanted to play and excel, the guy was a fantastic wide receiver. Problem was, there were a lot of times when it was game time, he didn't want to play.
Antonio Brown was the same way.
Yeah, and they just turned it off, and I think the NFL has seen enough of that, and Shedeur was exuding enough of that people thought, regardless of how well he might play when he wants to play, there's too much of this other stuff. So
earlier I said, that he's a lot like Johnny Manziel. I mean, Johnny Manziel had, I would argue that he had as much, if not more, talent than Shedeur, because Manziel took mediocre Texas A&M teams. This was pre-NIL.
Yeah, and looked great.
And won games against Alabama, against the leaders of the SEC, and he made that team great. But he got to the pros, and that guy had nothing but an ego problem. He was living the lifestyle of being the head quarterback, and, he had a lot of the same similar attributes and characteristics of Shedeur off the field and in the locker room. And you know what? He doesn't play anymore. And he's still, if he were still in the football, I mean, he could still be playing at his age today in this league.
Well, there was a moment when when it looked like Shedeur was going to be playing for the New Orleans Saints, he got a call from Mickey Loomis, who's the general manager at the Saints. And the only problem with it, and Loomis told him, we're about to pick you. This is way up a lot sooner than when he actually got picked. The only problem was when Mickey was calling him, it wasn't Mickey. It was a couple of frat guys at Ole Miss, and funny as it may have been at the time, the tide has turned, and a lot of responsible adults are saying that was pretty lousy thing to do.
Yes, I admitted before we went live today that the teenager in me looks at this video because there's not just video of the call that the kids made. There's video of him
taking the call,
of him receiving the call.
Right.
And I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is funny as shit. And then it was like, okay, I'm not a good person if I laugh at this. I can't laugh at this. And so now I'm like, the responsible adult to me is like, really, it was a shitty thing to do. It really was.
Have you ever been involved in a practical joke where suddenly you realize this isn't a joke, this is just being a jerk? And how do I pull out of this?
Well, I have experience in that.
I believe it.
Yes. When I was like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11, it was April Fool's Day. And so I decided that I wanted to pull an April Fool's joke on my mother. And Mom had this, I don't know, it was some sort of cosmetics and shampoo and, facial lotions. And it was all cosmetic products that came from Maison Weiss. I think it was Erno Lazo or Laszlo or something. Anyway, very expensive stuff. So I went and I mixed and matched all of the products.
No,
I
Sean.
mean, yes. And
Sean, you can't do that.
I thought it was just going to be the funniest thing ever. And of course, my mom, I was sitting there at breakfast and my mom came in there. I mean, I was in major trouble. I can't remember if I got a spanking, but I know I was grounded and I was in deep shit for a long time. My mom did not let me live it down. We finally are able to laugh about it now, but no, for the longest time, it was a bad practical joke.
I made a list of just weird stories, interesting stories that caught my eye.
Well, hold on. Before we go, the Falcons issued a statement about the prank call.
About the prank call? No.
Yes.
Oh,
okay.
No, I got to hear that.
Yeah, let's go back to this. So the kid in the video, there's a kid with an Ole Miss shirt. The other kid, and the kid in the Ole Miss shirt is the one who actually made the phone call. Right. And the other kid in the video is actually the son. His name is Jax Ulbrich or Ulbrich. He's 21 years old. He's the son of Jeff Ulbrich, who is the defensive coordinator for the Falcons, Atlanta Falcons. And so Shedeur apparently got this phone from Boost Mobile like the day before the draft, and they gave this private number to all of the GMs at every NFL team. And so the Falcons have now released a statement because it came out that this kid got the phone number from his dad. And so it says, earlier in the week, Jax Ulbrich, the 21-year-old son of defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, unintentionally came across the draft contact phone number for Shedeur while at his parents' home on an open iPad. He wrote the number down to later conduct a prank call. Jeff Ulbrich was unaware of the data exposure or any facets of the prank and was made aware of it only after the fact. The Falcons do not condone this behavior, blah, blah, blah. Sincere apologies to Shedeur and his family. So.
Speaking of Ole Miss pranks that turn out to be not funny at all, did they ever find out who it was that started circulating the story about the total false lie story?
No.
About the Ole Miss sorority girl
who's allegedly slept with.
Yeah, don't even tell the story.
We don't want to get
but
it was all false.
It was all false. But Pat McAfee got sued, which you have to enjoy that.
You do have to enjoy that.
And a few others.
You can enjoy that as opposed to supposedly not enjoying Shedeur's fall.
Surely, though, they can kind of trace it back through social media and find out, what sorry so and so first circulated. I would be curious to know when they trace it back to whoever that was. It was pretty lousy.
Yes, I'm sure.
Well, anyway, what I had said a while ago, I just made a random list of news stories that caught my eye, such as in Pennsylvania, a guy is boarding a flight in Newark Liberty International Airport, and he's going through the TSA body scanner, and the alarm goes off, and they do the whole scan thing.
He's got something in a body cavity.
They look in the groin area, and there's just something that they do a pat down, and something ain't right, and it turns out the old guy has a 5-inch long live red-eared slider turtle that he's hidden down his pants that he was going to fly with, and the man and the turtle are both fine. No charges were filed, but I thought that was a little weird.
Do you know, I have a friend of mine who was my best friend in law school, or one of my best friends in law school, and he used to be an emergency room nurse, and they had a patient come in one time.
I think they did a Seinfeld episode about this.
This guy, after like 3 hours, he was like, we were like, everything's fine, you can go home. And the guy was like, well, I actually have, I have a 10-inch auger tail fishing worm, plastic fishing worm, in his urethra.
What?
They had to bring in, somebody to literally, pun intended, fish the plastic worm out of his urethra.
Oh my God. I'm in pain just thinking
I
about
know
that.
it's very painful.
How did it?
The funniest part was that he was like, he said, literally, we looked at the guy and we're like, nothing's wrong with you. You can go home. And the guy was like, something is wrong with me. He was like, he didn't tell us for 3 hours until he was just, I guess, hoping that we were going to figure it out.
I mean, how did it?
Well, you're sitting around watching Bill dance on the fishing show, and you think, hey, that's a sexy looking worm there.
He didn't just sit on it.
No.
God.
No.
Well, I don't know that I can top that.
It's hard to top that one.
Okay.
All right.
Story number two. April 13, United Airlines Flight 2325, a Boeing 737 carrying 153 passengers, made an emergency landing. This is great. After a rabbit was sucked into a right engine, causing a fire.
How did a rabbit?
So this is shortly after takeoff. Passengers report a loud bang, significant vibrations, and
was the rabbit like on the wing?
Well, it gets better. Let me tell you the story. Video footage shows flames and fireballs shooting from the engine every few seconds as the airplane is gaining altitude, sparking, here, understatement of the day, sparking panic aboard. Do you think so? With the engine is shooting fireballs out.
The pilots were obviously looking for Elmer Fudd.
The pilot who was completely unfazed.
No one gets my joke.
Yeah, I know. It's
Danny's too young for it. Maybe not. You even remember Elmer Fudd, Danny? Okay. He was always hunting rabbits.
Yes. The FAA noted that while wildlife strikes, you know about a bird strike.
Yes.
They keep track of wildlife strikes. Rabbit strikes are rare, with only 4 rabbit strikes reported last year. 4? There were 4? It seems the most impossible thing in the world, but apparently as it's cruising down the runway, the airplane's going one way and the rabbit's going the other way, and somehow gets pulled into the suction of the jet engine, and as it's taking off, there's a rabbit track. It generates a vortex.
Suction, yeah.
But anyway, the story that makes the internet says that when the whole event happened, the pilot was just completely unfazed. He was calm, like he's been through it a million times before. He tells the air traffic control, because he's got to turn around now. It says rabbit through the number 2. And so all of a sudden, rabbit through the number 2 has become like the phrase of the week. So they turned around, got a new airplane, and poor rabbit did not.
Was
make
this
it.
Spirit Airlines?
This was United Airlines.
Oh, United.
So they're all right.
It's something that would be very Spirit Airlines.
Spirit Airlines is that sounds about right.
Spirit
like that was their online.
Actually, Spirit would not have landed safely. They would have just crashed.
No, that would have been the onboard meal. So, speaking of the onboard meal, there's a video floating around that I think you shot to certain people of the Clinton McDonald's. I don't know if we can air that because it's got
yes.
so much language.
I sent that to our group. Our group text. You saw that, right, Danny?
Yeah.
It was McDonald's food inside the Clinton, Mississippi,
like in the freezer
in their freezer.
room.
The crazy thing was that
nasty.
it didn't come from a local, like a local podcaster or local, Instagram or Twitter. It was somebody nationally had picked that up and reposted it. Yes. And that was just flat out disgusting.
Yeah, it was. It's only like a 30, 40-second clip, but it's just he's picking up all the food out of all the boxes, and it looks
in the freezer.
Yeah, but
it was not frozen.
Yeah, but none of the food is frozen. It just looks like it's just sitting. Yes, it's in a freezer, but a freezer that's turned off or something. And
it wasn't working. It had been broken,
melted or something. It was nasty.
Yes.
So. Anyway, I don't know where I'm supposed to go with that.
For those listeners that don't live in Mississippi, if you come to Clinton, I would not stop at Mickey D's.
There you go. Little bit broader coverage. I don't know if you've got money on which pope is going to get elected. That seems to be the newest thing.
Okay, no, I haven't.
To bet on the pope or to follow a pope or be obsessed by the pope.
I did watch this weekend Conclave.
The movie?
Have you seen it?
I saw it in the theater and watched it again 3 nights ago.
Okay.
All of a sudden, everybody, it's on
the
Prime
ending,
Video. Everybody is watching this
when
movie
I saw
now.
the ending, my wife and I looked at each other.
Did you get up and walk out of the room?
And we said, we were watching it at our home theater. We both were like, now I know why the movie did not win Best Picture of the Year.
It's
up until the ending.
Yeah.
I was
Great
like,
movie.
how is this not the Best Picture of the Year?
Right.
And then the ending came, and I was like, no way any Catholic or Christian in Hollywood voted for this movie.
If you, I actually did a little review of that movie on this show, and I said, if you take out the last 5 minutes of the movie, it's really good, and it's.
I didn't know what you were talking about, obviously, until I watched it.
Yeah, it's and a few things that I noticed, and it, by the way, it's streaming on Prime Video.
Yep.
And I'll talk about the last 5 minutes of the movie in a little while, but I can talk about the rest of it. It is incredibly cinematic. And I've explained that when I say something cinematic, I don't know what other people mean by it, but to me, it means stop the movie, just take a photograph of that scene, and it looks like a piece of art. And over, the most artistic shots. And of course, a lot of it is in the Sistine Chapel, or in the surrounding Vatican grounds, and it's just gorgeous. So that's part of it.
I thought that the priest or the cardinal that ultimately becomes the pope, I thought his whole storyline in the speech that he gave, when they were all in the theater together, you remember that?
Yeah.
I thought, what a great speech. And obviously that was the speech that compelled everyone to ultimately vote for him. But you could...
you just spoiled the movie.
No, but you can... Well, I mean...
You just spoiled the movie, Danny.
Yeah. But the bottom line is you could have left it on that storyline. You didn't need to throw in this crazy twist.
Yeah. The crazy plot twist is what drove everybody nuts because it was completely unnecessary.
Totally unnecessary,
and just stupid,
and some would say blasphemous to the Catholic religion.
Well, I mean,
if you can be blasphemous blasphemous to a religion. But yeah, I mean, most Catholics would be like,
What is this?
Yeah,
What
this
is
is not
this?
this isn't working.
Well, but let's see. You get John Lithgow.
Great performance.
You get
Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci, who's
And of course,
underrated.
Ray Fiennes.
Ray
was
Fiennes
unbelievable.
is one of the best.
One of my all-time favorites is Isabella Rossellini.
Not enough of her in the movie. I would have liked to have had more of her character being more in the movie, but she just plays like a supervising nun, and it's to some extent the movie is about we're the men and the men are going to control things and not the women.
But I mean, her role, I mean, every scene that she was in, I thought she really carried the scene. Even, I mean, I thought she carried the scene even when Ray Fiennes was in there. I mean, she commanded a presence on the film.
I would absolutely recommend the movie, even though just buckle up for the last 5 minutes because it gets really weird at the end. And now Sean's told you the ending. Thanks a lot. But I thought it was worth it. Actually,
but you don't know who gives the speech.
Yeah,
so,
no,
I mean, that's like literally right there at the end.
I almost never watch movies at home, but for some reason, after I watched that, the next night I watched Manchester by the Sea again.
Oh my God.
And also
one
on
of my
Prime
all-time
Video.
favorite movies, but it's so incredibly sad.
Yeah. But it was also
didn't Casey win
brilliant.
Best Actor for that?
I don't know. Casey Affleck I remembered him being good. I watched it again, and good's not a good enough word.
Casey Affleck is 1,000 times better than his brother Ben.
I don't know why
in terms
Casey
of an
Affleck.
actor.
I don't know why he did not become a gigantic movie star after that. He just did so great.
Well, and every movie he's in, though, he's just superb.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of the actor's actor, if you will.
Well, going back to the Pope, I don't know if you've been watching the coverage. Apparently, there is a new obsession, a Pope craze of just watching even if you're not Catholic, watching the ceremony, watching the spectacle of it all.
Did you watch the funeral?
No, I didn't watch any. I mean, this is not my jam. But voting on the Pope, and then part of the whole spectacle of it was accusing our vice president of killing the Pope. He goes there wants to have a visit.
I did think it was interesting that Trump and Zelensky had their little private meeting together.
Yeah, and what was said, and Macron wanted to horn in on it, and Trump basically said this is an A-B conversation. You could see your way out of it. Well, I mean, it was that rude.
He has not disclosed. Nothing has been disclosed from either party. That's what was said between the two.
That's right.
Interesting. I thought that was kind of the news of the weekend, and as it pertains to the Pope and
really
politics.
Interesting to see what comes of that.
Yes.
The news all week was that Trump has finally maybe realized who the bad guy in that conflict is. Geez, like the rest of us couldn't figure it out. And Putin won't give an inch. Putin is ramping it up, trying to get everything before there is a ceasefire. And Trump apparently finally this week realized maybe Zelensky isn't the person that I should have been pressuring all along. Maybe it's Vladimir. Well, all I can say is about time.
Yes.
So, but anyway, and we can talk about that if we want to, but other notes that I thought were interesting. It would take at least an hour to go through all the tariff stuff, and we never really hit that, even though that got announced about 4 weeks ago.
Well, the tariffs have been honestly terrible. Putting politics aside, I think it is universally agreed, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Obviously, Democrats we hate everything Trump, but most Republicans will tell you that it was poorly rolled out. It was poorly executed. It just didn't seem to have any cohesive plan or intent.
Yeah,
and obviously Trump has walked it back multiple times. in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, right idea, terrible execution, incredibly bad execution, shockingly, terribly bad execution on it, and has lost the momentum, and because it has worked so badly. I mean, you're talking about tariff negotiations, and I'm sure he thought, I'll use this to push people into negotiating a deal, negotiated something with Vietnam and I think some preliminary agreement with Mexico. But now everybody that he intended to negotiate with sees how badly it's going. Now they're not going to give an inch because they see this guy has absolutely no leverage on tariffs. We're not going to give him an inch because it was executed.
Well,
so
the
poorly.
other countries see that for the most part, the citizens of the United States don't back it or support it. I mean, we just want our 401k and our stocks to do okay, and they're not.
And we don't want delivery of our stuff to be interrupted. And come the summer, there's going to be a lot of supply chain interruptions. And as much hell as Democrats caught for it 4 years ago, I think Republicans are going to catch the same hell. The story of the week, though, on the tariffs was Apple's desperately trying to shift iPhone and iPad production out of China. And China's saying, we hold a lot of the intellectual property rights that you thought you had, and it ain't going to happen. Well, yeah, you boys are going to have to start from scratch if you think you're going to be shifting iPhone.
I would say that pre-iPhone, I bought like the first. It was an HTC product, first like smartphone. This was even pre-CrackBerry, and
that's going back
every year or every 2 years. At a minimum, I would get the newest version of whatever. And so since the iPhone has come out, I've had the new iPhone sometimes every year or sometimes at the least every 2 years. This year will have been 3 years that I've had my current iPhone, and it's worked fine. It's been great. But my plan was to get one. As a matter of fact, I told my kids, this was just over Christmas. I was like, one of them asked for an iPhone. I was like, no. First person in this family that's getting an iPhone is me. It's going to be 3 years. I'm going to get one when it rolls out in September of 25. Well, shit, whatever rolls out in September of 25, it's going to be at least double what it is.
You're going to get it from Cricket.
I'm just going to be hoping and praying that I don't drop it and break it.
Yeah, you'll be out of luck. It's going to be a while before all of it gets fixed and reoriented. It was just, like I say, probably some really good ideas, but the execution is just not going to work. But like I say, we can talk about tariffs for hours because it's a really interesting topic. It turns out that I've got a lot of airplane news, not just turtles down the pants and,
fish and worms in
rabbit
your urethra.
number 2. Yeah. U.S. deploys nuclear capable B-2 bombs into the bombers, I should say, into the Indian Ocean. We are renegotiating at long last with Iran. And I thought their initial first demand was whatever deal we cut, there's no walking away from it. The agreement has got to be that this is locked in and there's no opt-out language, such as is what there was before.
The Grand Poobah over there in Iran actually has made some, I guess, if you follow it, some, I think, pretty hopeful statements and comments. I don't know if you've been keeping up with it.
Oh, yeah. I have. I just don't see.
Not your normal, rattling of the saber, the evil empire, death to America. I mean, really more of a pragmatist of saying, we're going to have to do something, and we know that.
Well, yeah, because the problem is they have been pushed out of the areas of influence. They're not able to really mess with Israel any. They took their shot. Israel penetrated their defenses instead of the other way around. Israel's driven them out of Gaza, driven them out
Yeah,
of
they
Syria.
use their iron dome to totally shut them down.
Yeah, well, and then Israel has dropped some strikes into Iran, and Iran is powerless to stop them. All of a sudden, it's kind of like Hitler in 44. The war isn't lost yet, but we're not going to win this thing. And the further that we get pushed back, the less that we're going to be able to negotiate. Shouldn't we cut a deal now? Hitler never could get to the bargaining table with anybody, but I think Iran is figuring out we've got to do something because our economy is just in absolute shambles, and Trump isn't going anywhere. There's another 3 years of this guy, and how much of this can we take? Put that news side by side with the news about Israel going into Gaza and into Syria, well north of Gaza, and establishing a new occupation zone and taking out Hamas remaining airstrips. Yes, they bombed a hospital, which I thought that was an interesting name for a hospital. The Al-Ali Arab Baptist Hospital? Baptist Hospital? In Gaza. Well, we're everywhere. And so
John the Baptist was from there.
They had their death parade anytime some civilian is killed, and a child was killed due to interrupted medical care. And so immediately Israel is portrayed as the warmongers. And I keep going back to, until I see the mass demonstrations in Gaza and in Columbia University about all the victims of October 7, don't tell me anything about.
Well, what's your take? What's your take on speaking of Columbia? What's your take on this fight with Harvard?
It's really hard for me to get my head around exactly what it is that the government can do, because it has, so far as I can tell, I'm not sure that I know the facts well enough to have a strong opinion, but so far as I can tell, the U.S. has research contracts with these Ivy League institutions, and they're contracts, and contract's a contract, and the government can't just go around breaking its contracts that I can tell, even though it doesn't want to be funneling money to them. But are they really contracts, or is it just a funding deal? And, one of the recommendations that I saw is, instead of these Ivy League institutions taking 7 out of every $10 that they get from the government for overhead and oversight, which is just funneling, make that 15%.
I probably spent 25 years on multiple nonprofit boards where we get grant money, and I mean the federal and the state grants when they all come, and oftentimes the state grants are administering their federal funds, but I mean those grant contracts, I mean they are 100%
strongly written. Yeah,
they're 100% in favor of the person giving the money.
Yeah.
So if they essentially want to pull their funding, you're kind of left on your own.
Well,
we had funding pulled for one of ours for some ridiculous reason, and we just had zero recourse.
Well, I mean, if you want the money, you got to dance to the tune, and
Yep.
I don't know that I really have a problem with that. I don't see Harvard and Yale and Columbia as universities so much as I see them as hedge funds that operate universities, but they have so much money that what they are hedge funds.
Well, they don't even need the government's money, which is what
they don't need the money, and they don't need the kids' money. And some of these universities are on 100% scholarship.
I would argue, putting the politics aside, I would argue that our government money should not be going to an Ivy League school like Harvard that has, or do they have the largest endowment?
If they,
I don't
know the answer to that.
I mean, they're up there. They're
there.
up there with Stanford, and they're up there with the University of Texas. Texas A&M has a very large one. I mean, it's not just public, but there are public and private universities that have these enormous billion-dollar, endowments that they don't need. They don't need the money
They
from
don't
the
need
federal
the money, but hey, why not?
Well, right. That's my point. Is they're taking it, and it's like, why are we giving it to them in the first place?
Because that's the way it's set up now. Is the government has just got all these spigots that are attached to it, and everybody has their hose tied to the American budget, and everybody except you and me, we're the suckers, but everybody else is just getting all of this free government money. And I think, what am I missing that I don't have a grant or a university hedge fund or something?
Speaking of what am I missing, have you seen all of these? I mean, I'm just going to call them silly because in my opinion, they are silly. All of these silly Elon protests that are complaining that he is destroying our government because he's out there stopping fraud. I really don't understand it. Of course, I saw an ad. Someone put, like, I guess it was an ad. It's like an ad / meme. Someone had posted this pic of they were going to have some sort of, I don't know, not really I guess a protest this past weekend. And essentially they're still claiming for Elon to be fired. And I was talking with a buddy of mine. And I said, do any of these people actually realize that his time, his short-term employment is almost over?
Yeah. And he's announced his retirement from Doge, and he's going back to working on SpaceX and Tesla and Skylink
and you know, of course, all these fear mongers and chicken littles, they're claiming that, you know, Social Security is being ruined and taken away from President Trump and Elon. And it's like, all Elon did was identify essentially where millions of dollars were being wasted. And he's like, we're going to stop that. And of course, they believe that, we're now taking money away from me and you.
No, they don't. They don't believe that for a second. It's just a scare tactic to intimidate the low information voter. People who are smarter than us and have better things to do.
Are they the low information voter?
No. What I'm telling you is people that are smarter and wiser than us and don't spend all of their time looking at politics and following all this, just regular people who are happier because they don't
100%.
follow this crap. But they hear that Social Security is under attack, and they go, oh, my God, Social Security is under attack. This is terrible. That's the low information voter. The people who are screaming that Social Security is under attack, they know perfectly well that it's hogwash, but they also know that moves the political needles, so that's what they say. And welcome to the world of propaganda. You don't believe what you're selling.
I'm so glad you used that word, because it really is propaganda.
Sure,
I mean, I love and have always loved politics. I follow it, have followed it for my whole life. I was following it before I could even legally vote in the 80s. And, you know, I can look at this crap and I see it for what it is, as you just described it, as propaganda. And I literally don't allow it to affect how I feel on a daily basis or, you know, mood. But I see all this anger and this really unhinged passion that it's attacking people left and right. And it's just like, I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand how these people truly believe this nonsense that they're out there spewing. I mean, I just don't get it. And maybe I never will. I just look at it and I think, you know, this is typical. This is history repeating itself. And we've talked about it in the past. I mean, the similarities today are very similar to what the U.S. was facing in the late 60s.
Yeah, but what's different is the what is being defended, the place that the battle lines are being drawn. It was shocking to a lot of people that you had people on the left who were going to North Vietnam, openly supporting them, openly wanting the U.S. to lose. I was reading over the weekend.
You're talking about in the 60s.
Yeah, I'm talking about in the late 60s. I was reading just a little bit about Nixon's famous trip to China in early 1972 and how he decided he was just going to bomb like crazy both before and after the trip so that he didn't want anybody to think he was going to China to cut a deal with Vietnam. And he was talking to
which he was.
No, he wasn't. He absolutely was not.
They didn't. I thought they did have talks.
They had the Chinese said there's nothing we can do to help you in Vietnam the only thing we can do to help you is to tell you got to get out. You've just got to get out. You don't belong there, and you need to get out. So, by all means, get out. But there were no deals cut with the Chinese, at least in the 72 meeting. But let's say all that to say, Trish Nixon, Nixon's daughter, she's talking to why are we doing all this bombing? And he said, America can't be seen to fail. America can't be seen to lose the war. And Trish Nixon said, well, maybe America needs to lose a war. Maybe America is just too arrogant and is too used to winning and needs to be taken down a peg. That's Trish Nixon saying that. So it's, it comes back from that's 1972. But what's weird to me now is where the battle lines are being drawn. Are we really going, if you're a leftist, are we really going to support this high school nut that takes a knife to a track meet and stabs a kid in cold blood? That's the guy we want to defend. Are we really going to defend the Maryland man who it turns out is an MS-13 wife beater or girlfriend beater and member of a violent gang? That's
right.
Who we want to defend. The people that can't govern California a lick, instead of being pissed off about that. Oh no, they're fine, they're wonderful, but it's the business people
that's what
we're
Bill
mad at.
Maher has been saying out there publicly, which is y'all are picking the wrong horse to bet on.
Yeah, these men that are competing against women, to me, that's such a small, tiny, I don't want to say insignificant, but if you wrote out a list of all the problems that the culture has, trans men competing, I just that's pretty far down on my list. But why is it that they're the ones that are beating the drum on that? Those are the battles that you choose to fight. It makes no sense to me. You're not going to win over the population with that.
Well, clearly they haven't. I think the Democrats are still polling at like 25%.
Well, AOC apparently is going to, she has the imprimatur of Bernie. And so she will be knocking off Chuck
nice
Schumer.
Term there.
She will be knocking off Chuck Schumer in the next Senate election if he even decides to run against her. And will bounce from there to running for president. You can see it happening. So it's AOC versus I guess either J.D. Vance or DeSantis. Looks like that's where it's heading up. That's your preview for 4 years from now.
I think Vance will ultimately. I'll be shocked. Well, I wouldn't be shocked. because I remember
the Trump
pulling
fatigue is going to be.
I remember pulling. I remember pulling for Jack Kemp. I thought Jack was going to be the next.
That was a Rockefeller Republican.
That was going to be the next. That was going to be the next president. I went to a speech of his out in Houston. I love the guy, but he had a lot of charisma. But his 15 minutes, so to speak, it ran its course, and he didn't make it. I don't think AOC will get the ultimate nod. I just really don't.
In favor of who?
I think
it won't be Bernie because he's too old. It won't be Elizabeth Warren. It won't be Hillary and Bill and Michelle and Barack.
No, I see. I see the guy from California.
It won't be Gavin. Gavin's failed. Gavin's got way too many failures that point directly back to him. So it absolutely will not be Gavin.
Well, it probably will not be. Who's the guy out in Texas that keeps running and
Beto.
losing? Yeah,
Beto. Yeah. I don't know that Beto is going to keep failing upwards. And then you have Buttigieg. I don't even know what Buttigieg is doing now. But he
defending his record at the FAA.
Oh, does he really want to do that? No, he was
he was defending the record when we had that first plane crash, and he was like, "See what the Trump administration is doing? He's causing these plane crashes."
Did you see the story came out today as to what actually happened on that plane crash in Washington?
The helicopter?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the helicopter was in the wrong place. I do know that.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Yeah, let me give you all the timelines since this just dropped. Full 2 minutes before the collision, ATC, Air Traffic Control, ATC alerted the Black Hawk crew of the presence of American Airlines Flight 5342, which was at 1,200 feet
and dropping
south of the bridge, circling for runway 33. That's actually not the first thing, because the first thing was they told her she was flying too high.
Did she?
And she would not decrease out.
Did she
altitude.
acknowledge the call that the plane was?
Well, ATC alerted Black Hawk crew 2 minutes that where the airplane was, 15 seconds before the collision. So that was 2 minutes. This is 15 seconds before the collision. ATC said, pass behind the commercial jet. Can you see it, and go behind it? And then
did she respond?
No. And then the final seconds, her co-pilot told her to turn left, in other words, away from the airplane, and she just went straight as an arrow and collided with it. That came out today. Not least from New York Times reporting. So there's some incompetence with her or worse. But I said we had a lot of airplane news today, and that's what came out today. Flying 78 feet above the permitted altitude.
Operator error is typically the cause of most collisions or failures.
Well, it absolutely was over and over again operator error, and make whatever political hay you want to make out of it, but just crazy.
I was defending one of these boom cranes, man lifts cases a while back. Gosh, almost 20 years ago now. But I had hired an expert, and of course this happened up in Starkville. The guy had basically tripped or bypassed the warning so that he could extend the boom past the normal
warning
limits.
System. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course,
was that a mistake, Sean?
Of course, it fell.
Right.
We had massive injuries, and my expert was like, he first looked at it and he goes, I can just tell you right now. He goes, it was like some crazy number. It was like 97 or 98% of all crane accidents are operator error. I mean, in plane, I've seen similar statistics, not that kind of number, but I've seen similar statistics on, plane, helicopter, and that kind of stuff. Most of it is operator error. Just they make a calculated mistake.
Well, I don't know if it was a mistake. I don't know if she went nuts, but killed the people nevertheless.
You hate that it wasn't intentional.
Yeah. I just like to think she made some really bad decisions and didn't know what I'd like to think that, but I guess we'll never know. All right. Well, that's about our show for the week. Again, it's cowboycountryclub.com. All right.
DTSM 15 for your 15% off.
Make some money.
Yes.
We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you, guys.